Good morning, everyone. I'm Nancy Smith, Executive Director with the Shawano Country Chamber of Commerce, trying not to fall here. Welcome. On behalf of the Brand Development Team, I'd like to welcome you here this morning. And I'd like to take a moment to introduce our Brand Development Team. Wow, that's a spot. All right. We have with us today Sally Jo Stevens with Best Western Wittenberg, and Mayor Jeannie Krantz, Craig Hines from Hines Appliance, Michael Overman, our Marketing Manager from Menominee Casino Resort, Sarah Flashing from North Star Mohegan Casino Resort, Willis Qualheim, Todd Senzig, Dennis Haley from Shawano County Economic Progress, Dan Miller from State Bank, Chris Paper from Stone Creations, Kyle Van Order from Woodstock Carpet Flooring and Design Center, Eddie Shepard from the City of Shawano. Whoops. And we also have here with us today Jeff Anderson from the Department of Tourism. So these are the people that are members of the Brand Development Team, and they have been working on our destination brand since last year. This is a multi-year process, and we're so excited to really kick it off this morning. I would like to acknowledge the sources of our funding for this. We have received funding from Vision 2017 and from a grant from the Wisconsin Department of Tourism. So thank you so much for that, Jeff. Without further ado, I would like to introduce our speaker today, and we are so excited that he is here with us. Roger Brooks is one of the world's most sought-after speakers on the subject of tourism, community branding, downtown development, and destination marketing. Author of the popular book, Your Town, An Amazing Destination, and a former U.S. Travel Association board member, Roger and his team have assisted more than 1,500 communities throughout the United States, across Canada, and in Western Europe. When asked what he does, Roger sums it up best by saying, "We help turn great places into outstanding, sought-after destinations you'd want to visit, live, or work in." His guiding motto is a quote by Ralph Waldo Emerson, who said, "Nothing great was ever achieved without enthusiasm." Here to share his enthusiasm with us, please welcome Roger Brooks.
Thank you. Thank you. How is everyone?
Great.
Doing great? Well, we have had some fun. I have been here since a week from today, secret shopping this entire county and up north. And with me is my wife, Jane. Go ahead and stand up. It's always good to have a secret shopper that's a woman because they see so much more than us guys. And sitting next to us is John from our office, who just joined us yesterday. So we've been here for a week, and I just want to let you know that we have had a really great time visiting Shawano. And then spending time up here in Menominee, and then heading down to Bondul, and then heading out and seeing Nueski's, and then this one, the Myelki, and are there any other names that I can butcher? Because even when they were trying to find somebody to help them through this branding, we did a go-to meeting and everything, and I kept saying Shawano, Shawano, Shawano the whole time, and nobody ever corrected me, and they said, "We'll bring you in anyway." However, I must say that we were in Gresham having dinner, and there was a group of locals there, and they were referring to you as Shawano. So I keep going, why don't we just take out that A and make it easy? So if I mispronounce anything, please forgive me. I think we got most of them down. So here's how we're going to do this morning. From 8 to 9:15 for this next hour and 15 minutes, so we're going to talk about branding. And I promise it won't be boring. And then we're going to take a break, get some coffee, and then we're going to tell you our experience here. And it might go 9:30, 10:30, 11:30. We might go closer to noon. We have until noon. But when we do it, we're going to say, here's what we did over the last week. And then I have 7 major, actually I broke them down almost into 5 major initiatives, and then a couple of brand ideas for you. So, sound good?
Perfect.
Okay, so this whole thing about branding is going to be really important, and this is why it is so important these days. First of all, we are knee-deep in marketing mayhem. As a matter of fact, we are just drowning in advertising and marketing overload, so much that we in America are exposed to 5,000 marketing messages a day. Whether it's on billboards, whether it's on radio, whether it's retail signs, license plate frames, newspaper, television, you name it, 5,000 a day. So what happens is, because everyone is saying the same thing when it comes to communities, our brains tune out anything that doesn't appeal to us. This is my typical audience after 15 minutes. So what happens is, if we're driving down the road and a commercial comes on the radio for horseback riding, what happens is, if we could care less about horseback riding, our minds are conditioned to just wash it out. So we will not remember it. But if we love horseback riding or work in the equestrian industry, all of a sudden if we hear that ad, our minds will perk up. And that makes all the difference in the world. So when communities use, we have something for everyone. Has anybody here ever gone anywhere that had something for everyone? We don't. It just doesn't work. Or when we say we're a four-season destination, or we say discover us, why? And that is the problem. As a matter of fact, I did a list of words and phrases to avoid. Now, Wisconsin has the 4th largest tourism conference in the United States, which is really cool. And that's behind Florida, California, Texas, and then you. I showed this. We had like 1,100 people in the audience. I showed this list of words and phrases to avoid, and a lady back in the audience jumped up and went like this. And I said, yes, ma'am. She goes, I think we're using all of those. To explore, discover, experience outdoor recreation. Unlike anywhere else, we have so much to see and do in our first. She went right down the list. The problem is with this list, could this fit anybody anywhere in Wisconsin or Minnesota or Iowa or anywhere else? That is the problem. So the challenge is it just doesn't work. These days, you have to do something different in economic development. So this is not just tourism, but in economic development. Look at these list of words. Could those words work for anybody anywhere in Wisconsin? Yeah. And you know what the big problem is around the United States now? Is because everybody is trying to be all things to all people. Their marketing just doesn't work. I mean, there's nothing in this list that says why I should come to Shawano over Wausau or anywhere else. And look at what this has led to nationally. 97% of community-based marketing advertising is ineffective. Wow. That's nationwide. When you see statements like this, look, discover the wide open spaces, gracious people, and picturesque landscapes that characterizes Ridgeland, Wisconsin. Has anybody here ever been to Ridgeland? Okay, no hands went up. Now, that's good. Each season holds a promise of a new adventure and an incredible memory. Come join us in Ridgeland and discover the scenic and recreational opportunities that await you. Just so you know, it is about a 2-hour drive. Having read that, how many of you are now going to make a special trip there? That's what I thought. Is there anything in this statement that you can't get 5 minutes from here? That's the problem. By the way, that was not written for Ridgeland. It was written for Nelson, British Columbia. But here's the point. If I go to your website, I open up one of your brochures, and by the way, this applies to you in business as well, and I can take out the name of your community, your business, and plug anyone else in there, and it still rings true, you just lost a sale. That is the problem. So to win, you must stand out from the crowd. You must be known for something specific. Number 2 is the internet has changed everything. Matter of fact, 90% of all American households have immediate access to the internet. I'll bet you 100% of the people in this room right now, if they wanted, could pull out their phones and be on the internet. And out of that group, 94% use the internet to decide where they're going to live, where they're going to start a business, where they're going to go this weekend, where they're going to go on an extended vacation. They are using the internet, number 1. And by the way, when they use the internet location, they're not typing in Shawano Lake, what's going on this weekend. They're always typing in what they're looking for and then the general location. So to win, you have to quit marketing geography first. So if you're in business and you go type in your business name and go, woohoo, we're number one. You're the only one doing it. Same with communities. So if you type in Wittenberg, Wisconsin, yes, we're number one. Well, everybody else is looking for something else. I'm going to show you in just a second. And here's the problem with people using the internet. 70% are frustrated with their experience because people are promoting communities and not the activities that they're looking for. So I did these just the other day, just to show you. We might type in best fishing Wisconsin. And by the way, 84% never go past the first page of search results. Best fishing in Wisconsin, you know what? Shawano Lake and your little lakes never came up. But that's what they're looking for. And so let me do another one. Here I put top boating lakes in Wisconsin. Oh, we got Lake Pepin, Devil's Lake, Lake Winnebago, Green Lake, Wazoo Lake, a lake on Alaska. I mean, keep going. It didn't show up. Okay, so, and people are looking for top, best. Amish communities in Wisconsin, we've got Vernon County, Monroe County, Taylor County, Green Lake County, Clark County. Okay? But this is how people use the internet. Whether we do it that way or job opportunities near Green Bay, do you show up? I mean, that is how we use the web. And so what you have to do is stand for something so that you show up number one. Italian restaurants, Shawano, and then Luigi's did show up. Torchlight showed up as Italian. We ate there, great food. I didn't know it was Italian. But that's how it works. And so there's TripAdvisor, 10 best Shawano restaurants. And then best boat rentals, Lake Shawano. American Marine, of course, came up. That is how we use the internet. We type in what we're looking for in a general location next. So boat rentals, Native American Galleries, Wisconsin. Woodland Inn, we ended up with all kinds of stuff. Best whitewater rafting in Wisconsin. And by the way, I did best whitewater rafting in Wisconsin. I put it in parentheses, which means I had to keep all of those together. And there were 5 results in 1 second, and you weren't on the list. So this is why the internet has changed everything. Matter of fact, there was a TV clip talking about the whitewater rafting here. So here's the question you have to answer. What do you have? And I don't care whether you're in Gresham or Wittenberg or one of the smaller communities or in Shawano. What do you have that the people you're hoping to attract can't get or do closer to home? That is branding. Take a look at this. Let's see if it's going to come. There we go. Why should somebody invest in your community? Why should somebody move here? Why should somebody visit you? What makes you different? And so to win, you need to either be different or you better be clearly better. And if you're better at something, it better be by third-party endorsement, not because you say it's better. Somebody else said it. Because competition has never been more fierce. I call these the economic development dudes. They're battling it out. Every city, everybody's trying to compete. But what happens is locally, we want to make everybody happy, so we get caught in the group hug mentality and we stand for nothing. Worse, and what's really troubling, is the membership community. Well, I belong to the chamber, and I think we should be equestrian, and if we're not equestrian, then why should I belong? You're not listening to me. See what I mean? We run into that. But these days, to win, you must outwit, outplay, outlast. It is a brand new game. So this is all about how do you set Shawano country, and by the way, I'm going to refer to it as Shawano country, because I think this is great. I've always said, have you guys gone anywhere because it was a county? There's one exception, Door County. And the reason it works for Door County is because they have been doing it for 45 years. It finally stuck. But anywhere else do you say, well, let's go to that county? See, and so this is about setting Shawano country apart from everyone else. So let me give you just a quick preview of what branding is about, and it is not about logos and slogans. Take a look at this little clip from Parks and Rec.
Okay, Jerry, what have you chosen to put in the time capsule?
These
are my mother's diaries.
Wow.
Yeah, she lived in Pawnee all her life and recorded everything she ever did.
Ron?
I am submitting this menu from a Pawnee institution, JJ's Diner, home of the world's best breakfast dish, the 4 course meals of the Egg-Porkalops. Wendy loves it too.
And I am submitting this. A brief history of everything that has ever happened since Pawnee was founded. Not like you get extra credit for this, but I did type it from memory, and for the first time ever compiled, it includes a complete list of every official town slogan we've ever had.
Oh my God, Leslie.
I know, can you believe that?
Amazing.
Isn't it? Pawnee, the Paris of America. Pawnee, Akron of Southwest Indiana. Pawnee, welcome German soldiers. After the Nazis took France, our mayor kind of panicked. Pawnee, the factory fire capital of America. Pawnee, welcome Vietnamese soldiers. Pawnee, engage with Zork. For a brief time in the 70s, our town was taken over by a cult. Pawnee, Zork is dead. Long live Zork. Pawnee, it's safe to be here now. Pawnee, birthplace of Julia Roberts. That was a lie. She sued, and so we had to change it. Pawnee, home of the world famous Julia Roberts lawsuit. Pawnee, welcome Taliban soldiers. And finally, our current slogan, Pawnee, first in friendship, fourth in obesity.
So I want to know if you would go to any of these places because of their taglines. And these are all real. Beaver, Oklahoma is the cow chip capital. So you're thinking about, got to watch where you walk? How about Springdale, Arkansas? That actually uses Springdale. It's not that bad. or Buzzards Bay, Massachusetts. You got to live somewhere. Or Athol, Massachusetts. Okay, try to do this with a straight face. I just can't. You're in Athol, quit snickering. Or how about Climax, Minnesota? That's not the slogan. Here it is. More than just a feeling. Okay, you gotta admit that's pretty good. Hooker, Oklahoma. It's a location, not a vocation. And then there's Keister, Minnesota. How do you like this one? The Hinden of Minnesota. I'm not sure how that works for building community pride. And then there's Metter, Georgia. Everything's better in Metter. Go ahead and say it. Aww. Yeah. And then the most overused slogan in the United States. As a matter of fact, there are more than 4,000 cities and towns and villages that use these very words. A great place to live, work, and play. Isn't that special? Just like everyone else. And finally, there's Gas, Kansas. There it is, home of the world's largest gas can. Get it? That's their water tower. It's a town of 2,500 along a 2-lane highway. They are desperately trying to attract more tourism, so they rented a billboard and put these words on it in big letters. Don't pass gas. Stop and enjoy it. All right. Here's the point. Brand identities, logos, slogans make up 2% of brand. They always get a lot of political attention locally. But have you ever gone anywhere? Have you said, wow, let's head over to Wausau. I think they have a really cool logo. Or have you ever said, you know, I really don't want to head down to, let me think of one. I don't want to head down to Kenosha because I think their logo sucks. We don't. It doesn't matter. And by the way, Kenosha has a good logo. So, number 2, a brand is what people think of you, not what you say you are. So when somebody says, I'm heading out to Lake Shawano, what will they say? Oh, I've been there. It's really beautiful. What will they say? You know, and so how are these perceptions created? First of all, if we're coming down 29, if we're coming down the freeway, what do we see? Those first cues. Or if we take an exit, whether we're stopping at fast food, gas, it doesn't matter. We stop at an exit, what are the people like? It's funny how people will judge an entire community or even a county by the person they meet at a gas station or a fast food restaurant. I mean, they judge the book by the cover. Then word of mouth, and then publicity. What did we read? What did we see on the news? And by the way, good brands evoke emotion. They sell a feeling, not a place, not a product. I'm going to give you one example. This is Asheville, North Carolina. Granted, it's a little bigger population, but It's along the Blue Ridge Parkway. The challenge is the parkway is 500 miles long, so how do they set themselves apart? This is what they were using. Does it make you want to go there? Does it sound like it's hard to breathe? Well, they went away from that, and this is what they're using. Now, if that looks a little bit artsy, a little bit funky to you, then they nailed it. However, they have not convinced the police department to put that on the sides of their cars. Although I thought the line, a cop could go up to somebody and say, any way you like it, buddy. However, here was the challenge. Asheville is home to the Biltmore Estate. It is the finest in fine culture. It is the largest private home in North America. 45,000 square feet. It's bigger than a couple of Walmart, or 145,000 square feet. It's bigger than a couple of Walmart superstores. So how do you brand a community that has the finest in fine culture with a downtown that's known for counterculture? It's kind of where fine culture meets counterculture. So remember, brands are about selling a feeling. So take a look at this. This is what they did.
Excuse me. I've got a question about the chandelier.
Visit exploreasheville.com.
And they have outdoor recreation. By the way, outdoor recreation are the two most overused words in the world. So they say, well, how do we make our outdoor recreation different than everybody else? Well, take a look at this.
Visit exploreasheville.com.
Ready to go? They should have put unclothed. And this is quintessential Asheville, North Carolina. Take a look. Does it make you want to go there?
Yes.
It's one of the best towns in the best cities in the United States. I mean, all their ads look like that, scenic makeout spot ahead. So brands are about a feeling. And if you can evoke emotion with that feeling, then it's going to close the sale. Number 3, brands have a narrow focus. You must jettison the generic. By the way, for any of you in business, this applies to you as well. So I want you to look at your taglines, look at your logos, look at your brochures, and if it can fit anybody else in your industry or anybody else in Wisconsin looking at community, then you need to toss it and start over. The narrower your focus, the stronger your success will be. For you in business, I'm going to give you one case history. This is Stu Leonard's in Connecticut. It was a grocery store. It was founded in the 60s. In the 80s, the parents handed it over to their kids. Then guess what? Walmart came to town. Costco came to town. How is this mom and pop grocery store going to survive in the face of mega retailers like those? So those kids and their parents got together and said, we need to change our focus, and they changed their focus on Farm Fresh. Farm Fresh. Now, do they sell laundry detergent and everything else? Absolutely. But their focus is on Farm Fresh, so much so that they even gutted the store and made it look and feel more like a farmer's market. You know what? Walmart, Costco, those places, they can't do this. They could. And to illustrate they're about Farm Fresh, they have staff dressed as cows and chickens. How would you like a job there? They put in a great bakery. They put a farmyard zoo out in front of their store. Then they have displays that go moo and cluck when you push the buttons. They give you free ice cream if you spend $100 or more. And you know what their slogan is? Profit is the applause of happy customers. Well, so they're known for farm fresh produce and dairy, fresh baked goods. That's not all they have, but that's at the top of the list, what they're known for. Look at this. They have the highest per square foot retail sales of any grocery store on the planet. So bring it on, Costco, Walmart, Safeway, you need it, because they just opened their 5th store. That is the power of a narrow focus. And look at all the awards, Guinness Book of World Records, you name it. So to win, you must jettison the generic, because we are in the age of specialization. You need to find your niche and promote it like crazy. I mean, this is why lawyers specialize. You know, here's a lawyer, Russ Brown. If you go down, call Russ Brown. Motorcycle lawyers. You know, divorce mediation. You know, and it says divorce mediation, it's better to talk. They specialize. I mean, intellectual properties. Attorneys specialize, doctors specialize, real estate agents specialize, insurance companies specialize. I really like this one. It's guys plus jump, I'll catch you, plus oopsie davy is why we only insure women. They specialize. Because something for everyone will result in mediocrity and ultimate failure. You cannot just market what you have. You have to market what differentiates you. And most communities, they will put a list. Oh, we have historic downtowns. We have fine. We have. Look at this list. Could this list here on the left fit any of these cities and towns on the right? So just saying we have all this stuff is not enough. That's back to we have something for everyone. And so I might have pushed it on a couple of these. I mean, Bayfield, I love Bayfield. It's one of my favorite towns in the state. But you know, so I might push a couple, but the point is you can't just do lists either. So to win, you must jettison the generic. What makes you unique? And it always has cracked me up that Minnesota has 10,000 lakes, but Wisconsin has 15,000. So the challenge is with Lake Shawano, how is that any different? Yeah, you're the latest, you're probably the closest lake to Green Bay, which I'm not putting down because that's a population area of about 300,000 people in their statistical area. And I'm sure they would rather go to your lake. It'd be a lot warmer than being out in Green Bay. Now, or you could say just about everyone has rivers. There's a lot of Native American culture here, Minnesota, everywhere around you. There's a lot of Amish families and businesses. I read somewhere that says Wisconsin is known to have the 4th largest Amish community. Well, I beg to differ with that because we've worked in most of them, and they're much more prevalent in Pennsylvania, Western New York, Ohio, and even northeast Indiana. So yeah, but you have these things. Friday fish fries. Is there anybody in Wisconsin that doesn't do Friday fish fries? How does it differentiate you? I mean, you've got casinos. We counted more than 25 in Wisconsin, the trail systems, museums. As a matter of fact, there are 594 cities and towns in this state. What sets you apart from the other 593? Wittenberg or Shawano? See what I mean? It's not easy. And by the way, the people that are planning to come to you could easily go into eastern Minnesota or, I mean, you know, and by the way, I don't know anybody in the Midwest that isn't trying to pull people from Chicago. So what is it? And the thing I always tell people is that if this was easy, everyone would be doing it, and it's not. So to win, you need to have your brand, own your niche so much that your name becomes synonymous with your brand. So I need your help on this one. I want you to tell me who owns these brands. The country music capital. Nashville, that was a little bit low key. Okay, how about this one? Gambling adult fun, who owns it? Vegas. What happens here stays here. Of course, it also stays on Facebook, Pinterest, Instagram, Snapchat, you name it. Las Vegas. Okay, how about kids and family? Who owns it? Okay, some of you said Orlando, some of you said Disney. It just goes to show that the experience trumps the location. But you'd be right, that would be, oops, Music Theater Capital, I already gave that one away. Branson, Missouri, a town of 10,000 people with 49 music theaters and 8 million visitors a year. Wow. Okay, so let's see. Graceland Elvis, who owns it? Memphis. Only like 3 people know that. Okay, you're right. Now, is there more to do there than just that? Yeah, but that's what puts them on the map. The winery capital of the U.S. is where? Napa Valley. Okay, and then who owns the frozen tundra? Green Bay. Well, everybody knows that one. You know, I was speaking in Green Bay once and said, Roger, can you help us out? I said, why? He says, well, in the winter, people avoid us, you know, from Chicago. And our weather is not that much different than Minneapolis, Chicago, other areas of the Midwest. Yet people will avoid us outside of Packer games in the winter because of a football game played in 1967 where it was dubbed the frozen tundra. And you know what? You go to the games or you watch them, and what do they talk about? Well, here it is in January, it's snowing. Here we are in the frozen tundra. It just keeps living on. So, there you go. Now, Wisconsin Dells. We helped them become the water park capital of the world. They have 18 water parks and nearly 100 attractions. When we first went there, they said, well, we have Noah's Ark and we have all these water parks. I said, yeah, I know, but they were just getting Kalahari at the time. They already had Great Wolf Lodge. And I said, why don't you just claim it and own it? I said, but we have so much more than that. No, that's the one thing you're known for. Now they've got half a dozen of them or more that are indoor, so it can work year round. I am Baraboo with the Circus Museum. That's put them on the map. Oshkosh for, you know, the love of flying. I mean, the EAA Museum is the best one in North America, if not the world, and they have the biggest fly-in in the world. All these people, Door County for its lighthouses, beaches, its fish boils. Milwaukee, you know, I mean, you know, that beer, Harley, you name it. You know, Appleton, we worked with them to become Wisconsin's shopping place. Why? Because the Fox River Mall is the second largest one in Wisconsin and between all their communities, and it works. You know what's interesting about Appleton? Number one, the competing teams that come to play Green Bay stay in Appleton. And number two, most of the people that will travel from around Upper Peninsula, throughout Wisconsin will stay in Appleton and drive the half hour to Green Bay for those games because they can do their shopping while they're at it. It may not be sexy, but it works. Green Bay, of course, you know them for the Packers. And then Lake Geneva, I mean, resort, destination, skiing, golf. I mean, all of these things stand for something. They're on the map. So, we want to get it to where your name, when somebody says Shawano or Shawano Country, what comes up? And then number 5, all successful brands are built on product, not just marketing. Little Jefferson, Texas, in the northeast corner of Texas, they call it Oklatex, Oklahoma, Louisiana, and Texas. Yet their population is just 2,500. They're the antique capital of Texas. As a matter of fact, there is an antique dealer for every 20 residents in their city. There are 70 buildings in their downtown, and they're all full of antiques. And now they have people driving 4.5 hours from Dallas to go there. They're spending the night. They're now the official B&B capital of Texas. I mean, Wisconsin Dells, there we go. 18 water parks, indoor and outdoor, nearly 100 attractions. They're now working on their downtown. We're helping them with that because, as you know, Wisconsin Dells kind of got stuck in the 70s, and we're trying to get them unstuck. I mean, Oshkosh, there you go again. Once again, the EAA Museum and the largest fly-in in the world. I mean, all of these things set people out. Marketing will bring people to Shawano Country once. The only thing that will bring them back is the product. And those are the activities, the amenities, and the people they run into or encounter. That's it. Number 6, you never use focus groups. Nancy introduced the Brand of Home team. They're not a focus group. We're going to help them. By the way, brands have to come from within. We can't come in as an outsider and say, oh, here's what you should be known for. They're not, they're just there to run kind of interference. And I'm going to explain this a little bit more. What happens when you do focus groups, you end up with logos like this. This is a place in Washington State, Oak Harbor. Well, we're Oak Harbor, so we better have an oak tree. Oh, and we're in northwestern Washington State, so we should have Mount Baker in the background. Oh, we're on Whidbey Island, so we should probably put a boat in there. And that's right, we have a Navy base, so we should probably have a jet plane flying through our serene setting, and you end up with a cartoon. So I went up there and said, all right, that's it, knock it off. And that's what they're using. Keep it simple. Keep it straightforward. Try to evoke emotion. Now, the reason the chamber is really taking the lead on this is because it's impossible to do branding from the city or county perspective. Here's why. Your elected officials were elected to be all things to all people. Brands aren't. Don't put them in that position. It's better if tourism, chambers of commerce, economic development, hospital boards, people that are in the private sector say, city, county, we want this to be our brand focus. Will you help us where it's appropriate? Don't put them in that situation where they have to decide. Because if you want to do it as a public project, here's how it works. Oh, that bricks guy come in and we're really pumped. We got a lot of enthusiasm. And then you start planning, okay, how are we going to narrow our focus? What is it we're going to be known for? And then there's disillusionment as people disagree. Then there's fear and panic and search for the guilty. And finally, punishment of the innocent. And finally, praise and honors for the non-participants. Did I get that about right? Yeah. So, and by the way, top-down branding efforts failed 98% of the time. The best brands started grassroots. The city or Napa County didn't come and say, let's become wine country. Robert Mondavi said, I'm going to invite in my competitors so that we can build this brand. Even Walt Disney, they ridiculed him. Nobody had ever heard the words theme park before, but him and a few people put it together and put Anaheim on the world map. I mean, that's what it takes, private sector. You know, and by the way, you never roll out a brand until you can deliver on the promise. So if you say you're something and we come here and it's not here, guess what? We're not coming back. We're working in Stockton, California, which really they're pretty centrally located. They want to be the sports capital, but they were building their facilities. And one thing we found in Stockton is they had a poor perception of themselves. So we had to do this half glass full kind of what we call a bridge brand of the Miracle Mile, and even their tourism website, they used a lot of confetti and stuff just to get them to feel better about their own city before they started on their sports. And then number 8, great brands always start with a plan, and this is what's being built here in Shawano. Branding, what is it you want to be known for? And by the way, you can do a county-wide brand, and when I tell you about county, I'm also talking about Menominee, these 2 counties, is what do we want to be known for as a county area? Or it could be, well, Gresham, we want to be known for this, Wittenberg wants to be known for this, Bonduelle wants to be known for this. Each company could pick their own, and then we got to figure out a way to put an umbrella brand over it. Does that make sense? Chevrolet, brand, Buy American. Taglines, Heartbeat of America and American Revolution. But you know what? They don't just say buy a Chevy, Heartbeat of America. They sell the Corvette to its audience, middle-aged white guys. They'll tell you that. They sell the Aveo to the young people that want a first-time little car. They sell the Impala to people that want a fairly inexpensive 4-door sedan. They market each one as a little different, but it all fits under that umbrella. So what is the brand? And then what do we need to do to own it, the product? And then how do we tell the world? And you know what? Action plan. No more strategic plans. I'm going to get into that in a minute. And then number 9, which one are you going to pick? What do you want to be known for? You build your brand on feasibility, not just local sentiment. Which one of these is going to get us to where we want to go? And I'm going to explain that in a minute. And then you cannot let local politics kill your branding efforts. I mean, I love this quote. I can't give you a surefire formula for success, but I can give you a formula for failure. Try to please everybody all the time. Herbert Bayard Swope, first recipient of the Pulitzer Prize. And then this is one of my favorite quotes. A byproduct of brands for the people is the committee that compromises and kills a potential brand home run. This is why you never see statues of committees in public parks. You see brave leaders. There are only 3 killers of the Shawano country brand. Number one is local politics. And by the way, it's far worse with the membership organization, so this Nancy from the chamber has to navigate that, than it is with elected officials. Lack of champions willing to push it forward. And then number three, lack of money, both public and private. And the best brands are built on private sector. I mean, Nashville and country music, private sector. Napa Valley wine, private sector. Orlando and 170 attractions, private sector. Anaheim. I mean, I could keep going down the list. By the way, if you have the right champions, they will get through the politics and they will find a way to make it happen. I'll give you one little case history. This is Devon, Alberta. It's like a little bedroom community next to Edmonton, Alberta, which is like 1 million people. 6,300 is its population. Claim to fame, Imperial Oil was founded here. The first planned community in Canada. People 10 miles away go so. So they want to diversify from the oil industry. And by the way, in their case, even people in the oil industry want to come home to something other than oil. And so the brand is anything there. That's not their tagline. That's the perception people have of them. They decide to become Biketown, Alberta. Now, what they want, they're not mountain biking necessarily. They want to get people from Edmonton to put their fast $3,000 and $4,000 and $5,000 street bikes on the backs of their BMWs and bring them out to Devon because they have some amazing paved trails. And so we have Janet and Michelle, these two young gals in Devon, took this on. They got the city to do welcome to Biketown when you drive in. They're promoting 30 kilometers of these trails plus some real gear grinders. Then when it came to Breast Cancer Awareness Month, they went and got old bikes and painted them all pink and lined their main street full of them. Everything was about biking. Even when they did parades, they would do a flatbed truck, and on the back of the flatbed truck, they'd put like 50 ride-in-place bikes, like spinning classes. And they even got the councils to wear Biketown, and they trademarked the word spokesperson. Cool, huh? You know what happened? I think it was Raleigh or Giant. One of the bike companies says, oh my gosh, I wish we would have thought of that. You know what they said? If you build us a velodrome, because they need winter, if you build us an indoor velodrome, we will give you the naming rights and we will give you the trademark, and they're working on that. Isn't that cool? Now, about 4 or 5 months into this, I got a call, and Janet and Michelle were on the phone, and they were in tears. And they said, Roger, we really need your help. There's a group of people here that wants to kill the whole bike brand. They think we're oil, we should always be oil, this is our roots. I mean, they were writing editorials, they were slamming them. I mean, that would never happen anywhere here, right? Yeah, I didn't think so, yeah. Okay, so finally, I felt so bad, I said, I'll be right there. Took me several weeks or months because of my schedule. So I went up there to try to educate the locals about branding and why bike. I mean, can you imagine being against bicycling? This is not Harleys. And so when I got there, by the way, every chair was filled, but the first group that came in were those people, and they were just sat there glaring at me. And even during the presentation, they would make little snide remarks and everything. I mean, I knew exactly how they saw me. But you know what was really cool about this thing? Is that TSN, which is the ESPN of Canada, did a contest nationwide across Canada for the community that got the most votes would win $25,000 grant to design and build a bike park. Now, Toronto has it's about 8 million people there. I mean, there's Edmonton with 1 million, Calgary with 1 million, Vancouver, all these big, huge cities. Here's little Devon. And you know what? It was their grade school kids, their middle school kids, their high school kids that took this on. We even got a call in our office asking us to vote for them. I mean, when your kids champion your brand, how can you turn that down? You can see me chastising the people in the audience. And guess what? That little town of Devon won it. And within weeks, they were designing their bike park. And so this is what it looks like. Grab life by the handlebars. Everything they do. By the way, you want to notice something about these. you always promote the experience, and by the way, it's Devon. Promote the experience, and by the way, you'll find it in Wittenberg, you'll find it in Shawano, you'll find it wherever. And even for you in business, your business is always on the bottom. What you're about is always at the top. Okay? I love that one. Only a biker understands why a dog sticks his head out the window. They started designing billboards like this and like this, just to tell people. The first one went up like that, welcome to Bike Town. When it came to parades and stuff, they did little bookmarks. And on the back of every single bookmark, it would give you bike safety or bike trail or a biking tip. They promoted their anchor tenants, their best businesses, and of course they called it Top Gear. Everything was around the biking brand. You know, even the town changed its logo and everything. And by the way, it doesn't have to be a picture of bikes. It just has to be continuity. They started doing pole banners like this all over town. And we actually have some photographs, but I didn't get them for this. So they did posters, and they hung these posters in the schools, in the post office, in restaurants, everywhere, so that anybody that came into town, including locals, going to local businesses, would see posters promoting Bike Town. Their wayfinding system all had the same kind of thematic to it. You know, and they even renamed all the trails, River Trail, Canyon Loop, Timber Trail, all for different kinds of biking. They even created their own website, Welcome to Bike Town, Alberta. And you know what? They built that little bike park. It's pretty cool. They now have families moving to Devon because their kids are BMXers or they love biking. And they can't even keep the logo gear in stock. They did a tour of Alberta. They do it, it moves all over Canada, and it's always in the big cities. They could not overlook Little Devon, which hosted Stage 2. You cannot let politics kill your branding efforts. And then continuity is key to your success. You need everyone on the same page, pulling the same direction. By the way, whatever brand come up with Shawano Country is it needs to fit. We need to figure out how it works with each of the individual communities. Then find a way to package as a larger one. And by the way, your tourism brand, your economic development brand, your community development brand, all one and the same. You don't have 3 separate brands. One and the same. Because this is the way most towns are. That's what I call the Economic Development Express. Look about right. What happens is we all work in different silos. We've got the chamber doing their thing, economic, community development, tourism. I can put downtown. I mean, everybody is doing their own thing. When you do this together, you go from that to that. And you'll be far more effective as one loud voice than opposed to individual small separate voices. So, when we're done with this, you have to fit in one of these categories. You need to have the most of something in your niche. Wisconsin Dells and Water Parks. You need to have the biggest, whatever it is. And it needs to be interactive, not, I went to a town once on the Washington coast that did the world's largest frying pan. Well, the problem is once you see it, you've been there and done it. It's not interactive. Or you can have the best of, if you have the very best fishing in the Midwest and Field and Stream says so, it's a third-party endorsement, people will skip over the same activity closer home because it's better where you are. It could be thematic, you know, whether it's Bavarian, German, you know, those kind of ethnic themes. Or it could be a lifestyle brand. It's the way we live here. That's kind of what Asheville was. And then something that's totally different or new. So I want you to repeat after me. I'm going to say it once and then you repeat after me, okay? You ready? I promise to promote only what's truly unique. You ready? I promise to promote only what's truly unique. Okay, that was weak. Now, let's try this one. I promise to be different. You ready? I promise to be different. That's better. And finally, I promise not to repeat things other people say. I mean it. You know, explore, discover, something for everyone. So, brands that come from within are far more successful. Outsiders should only facilitate the process. Our role in this is facilitator. So now what I'm going to do, I want to take you through what Shawano Country, the brand development team, BDT, that you heard, this is the process they're going through. And I'm going to break it down. There's 5 primary steps. Is number 1, here's where you are today. And after our break, I'm going to tell you, here's where you are today from the eyes of an outsider, wearing several hats. Okay, so this part they already have done, and we're going to show you right after the break. Then we are also going to ask you, when somebody mentions you, I don't care which town you're in, 5 years from now, what will they say? That's your brand. Okay, so you ask locals, where do you want to be when you grow up? And then number 3, of all the ideas we hear from the locals, which one makes the most economic sense? And then you develop the action plan. Now, what do we need to do so we own it? And then you got to go out and sell it. You never go, well, what do you think? The second you do that, whoop, hinges are going to come off. So here's the process. However, I am going to use Alpena, Michigan as the example, because they went through this. The reason I'm using them is their population is very, very similar to Shawano's, and in their county, very, very similar. Now, one difference is they are 4-hour drive from the metro areas. I mean, if you want to count Chicago, but if you talk about what, Milwaukee, Madison, those areas are what, 2.5 hours, Green Bay, half an hour, Wausau, what's Wausau, about an hour, roughly? Okay, some of you are going, no, I can do it in half an hour. Yeah, okay, here's the steps they went through. Number 1, identify the goals of doing this. And so that's one of our very first things, our brand development. Why do you even care? You know, branding is a means to an end. That's all it is. How do we import more cash than we export? In their case, they said, well, we want to become an outstanding destination both for our local residents and visitors. What's interesting is every single person we talk to here that lives here, that earns their money here, they said, where do you do your major shopping besides Walmart? Green Bay, Appleton. That means you have a lot of leakage. That means you're earning the money here, spending it somewhere else. Luckily, you have a pretty good tourism to help fill that gap. But for them, they're trying to keep their locals there. To create small business opportunities and let me go back to that, and to strengthen existing businesses. And then they want to create lasting opportunities for Alpena's youth, because when people graduate from high school in Alpena, they go, the day after, I'm blowing this town. Some of you may have that happening in your towns. So how do we get them here? What kind of jobs? What kind of business opportunities? What do we have to do for them? What are your goals? So we're going to identify that. Number 2, put together the brand development team rather than committee, which we've done here, which you've done. And then I'm the outside, we're the outside for there, John, Jane, me, we have Jordan, there's 7 or 8 of us. And then we have somebody, we can come in here and be really honest with you because we come from the outside perspective, which is your visitors. In their case, this is who they had. They had somebody from downtown. I mean, they had this. And the reason I wanted to show you this list, and your list is very similar, is these lists of your team are heavy on the private sector. Remember what I said? You can't do it top down. And so everything you see in yellow, private sector. Then you need to ask. This is your chance to weigh in on Shawano Country's future. And so we use Shawano Country because it includes both the counties. On your questionnaire, which is out there, and I'm just going to give you a quick highlight, it'll ask you where you live. Because if you live in Wittenberg, you might think a little differently than people in Bonduelle. And so we ask what age group you're in. And the reason we ask that question is if one of these communities decides, oh, we want to be a retirement community, then we're going to gauge the age group higher. But if you want to track millennials, then we're going to look at that. And then what is your gender? Women account for 70% of the decisions, where we live, where we start a business, where we're going to go on vacation. Tell me something I didn't know. So that's important. Usually we have about 60-40 women to men answer this. Then we say, when friends and family visit you, where do you take them? It's going to be interesting to see what they say. And then we will ask, where do you hang out on weekends and during evening hours besides your home? Then we ask them, what do you think the 2 counties' 3 greatest assets are? Put them in order. Besides our people. And then we'll say, what do you think the 3 greatest challenges are in the 2 counties besides our people? And then what could or should be done to get you to spend more time and more money here locally? And then finally, the 9th one, what do you think you should be known for? It'll be interesting to see what they say. And our brand development team will have access to this. Typical number of responses is about 1,100 for a community this size. We hope you can beat that. And by the way, it's already there. If you go to shawanoecountry.com, it's right on the homepage. Take the survey. By the way, we want outsiders to take it too. We're interested in what Green Bay thinks. What's really cool is we can separate them out to see what you think versus what they think. So if you have relatives, if you know friends in Green Bay, Wausau, wherever, Milwaukee, wherever, have them fill it out. Doesn't matter. So that starts today. And it's going to go for about 3 weeks. We hope it'll be in newspapers, it'll be everywhere. This is really important. Then once we've heard from people, we got to compile what we've heard. Of all these ideas, which one makes the most sense? We break them into 3 categories. Which one portrays a feeling? People who say, oh, and by the way, I don't know how many rural places I've been in that says, oh, we're like Mayberry. I mean, please, Mount Airy, North Carolina already owns a Mayberry. But friendliness, clean, quiet, romantic. We have Victorian architecture, beautiful setting. Those are all these things. And by the way, we're not dissing any of these. But there's the feeling. Then things are closer home. People are going to say, oh, we want to be known for our trail system or local museums. All great. But then maybe there's going to be some things that will be significantly different. Or maybe we package some of those in a way to make it seem different. And you have to do what you're afraid to do. At the end of the day, you build your brand on feasibility. This is about cash. This is about tax base. You know what? Every single elected official in your cities, in your towns, at the county level, their whole job is to improve the quality of life for citizens. I don't care whether it's Scott Walker, whether it's Donald Trump. All of their jobs are to improve the quality of life for their citizens. And you do that through tax base. That's how you get past the politics too. So, is this something the people we're trying to can't get or do closer to home? We got to ask that for all the ideas. Is this something the community can buy into it over time? So if Shawano said, you know what, we want to be Wisconsin's Sin City. I see some fist pumps. No. Do you think we're ever going to get a lot of buy-in for that one? Probably not. See what I mean? So we have to get something that they'll buy into over time. Can the private sector invest in it? This is why you cannot build your brand on past history. It doesn't mean we're tossing out your history, your museums, those kinds of things. But where does the private sector invest in? That's tax base. And then, how much will it cost? Well, we see a return on our investment, public and private. And how narrow of a niche is it? We don't want it to be too narrow. Can we start with one and add to it? If you wanted to be a sports capital, can we start by being the soccer capital, then the baseball capital, and we start adding things onto it until you own the sports capital? Can we make it obvious? When you drive into the counties, it's obvious what you're about. And will it extend our seasons? And you're going to see some of this in the assessment right after the break. But the hotel we stayed in, during the week, there's like 10 cars parked out in front, and on the weekends you were full. In August! Extending your seasons can't just be January, February, March. It needs to be weekdays in June, July, August, September. So will this do that? Do we have those who are championing a cause? That is the key one. And then number 10, is it based on things to do, not things to look at? That is the challenge with barn quilts. They're gorgeous. I hope you're always the barn quilt capital. But once we've been there and done that. What can we add to it? Number 5, who are we hoping to attract? In the case of Alpena, they said, well, the first things we're trying to do is get people in our own county to spend more time and money here. Then the 84,000 that live within a 30, 50-mile radius, for you, that would be hundreds of thousands. Visitors planning on coming into northern Michigan in the upper peninsula. specialty groups, individuals. By now, they had a pretty good idea they were going to become a sanctuary city. And I'm not talking about sanctuary city in the terms of immigration. We're talking about silent sports. We're talking about those things. Because, and I'll show you this in a minute, and I'll show you why. They're looking for people, they're looking for an escape, a sanctuary, and they found out that 54% of all Americans are concerned with the stress in their lives. That's more than half. And by the way, in Michigan, you've got Party Town Central, Traverse City. Alpena is over there. So they're going to say, let them have the parties and the skiing and everything. Over here, we're going to be all about sanctuary. So, once they determine that, we create the brand leadership team, BLT, like the sandwich. So what's going to happen with our brand development team? Some of them, if we went down the road and said, okay, we're going to be, Shawano County is going to be about speed. You know, the raceways, the go-kart tracks, everything, our whole brand is going to be us. There's going to be some people on this team that are going, yeah, that's okay, but it's not really my cup of tea. Well, we're going to go find the people where it is their cup of tea because we need those champions. So some people may switch over to this. You'll never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed people can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. Margaret Mead. And when odds are 1 in a million, be that one. So the champions that we're going to be looking for, once we know it, they need to be 100% enthusiastically behind the brand. They must be doers, not directors. They're going to go talk to Kiwanis and Rotary and school boards and hospital boards and city councils and town councils. They need to be willing to take some hits. Not everybody's going to agree. They will be brand cops. Got to protect it. And more than half should have a vested interest in the brand. If you're going to be about speed, then we need the people at, what is it, USA or USA International Raceway. What is the other, there's other go-kart tracks, you know, your Shawano Speedway. We need those people to be there. You know why? Because the people that have a vested interest are most willing to champion it because their paycheck depends on it. They're the voice of the brand. They got to go out and sell it. And they shouldn't be politically divisive in the community. Can they be elected officials? Absolutely. And then they will be the steering committee for wayfinding signs. Some of the stuff I'm going to show you after our break. They will push the agenda forward, and they will never take no for an answer. Where there's a will, there's a way. So that's going to be happening. And there's my quote. Nothing great, well, it's actually Ralph Waldo Emerson's quote, nothing great was ever achieved without enthusiasm. And by the way, I love this. Life should not be a journey to the grave with the intention of arriving safely in a pretty and well-preserved body, but rather to skid in broadside in a cloud of smoke, thoroughly used up, totally worn out, and loudly proclaiming, wow, what a ride, and we want them half that age. We want to load your brand leadership team with people in their 30s, early 40s. Now, somebody's going to say, well, gee, I wanted to be on that. I'm too old. No, nobody's too old. But we want to make sure your youth, they're the future. By the way, there's more millennials than there are boomers. Biggest generation in U.S. history. We want to make sure they're there and have a voice. And here's your true champion. A diamond is merely a lump of coal that did well under pressure. So, can't give you a surefire formula for success. I showed you that again. And this was the Alpena, Michigan team. But you know what happened here is that Jeff right here and Missy are the ones who took the lead. There's always one or two people that pushing all the rest of them. Now, he will come along because he's married to her and will do whatever she says. So they put together their brand team and say, now, where's the product that backs it up? In their case, we need to create downtown gathering places. We're going to talk to you about that. Renaming local parks to fit the brand, developing a wayfinding system, stepping up downtown beautification, recruiting new businesses, sailing charters, boat rentals, kayaking schools. I mean, they went down this whole list of product development. And then they wrote the brand story, the brand promise. And by the way, the brand is the promise that you're going to deliver on. When people come there, are you going to meet that? So their initial draft was this: as sanctuary of the Great Lakes, Alpena embodies the haven from stresses of everyday life. A culturally rich community to relax, rejuvenate, inspire the happy, healthy, and creative you. when they did that last paragraph, I went, no, that could fit anybody that's rural, right? So Michigan, Pure Michigan was doing a series of ads, and we got Tim Allen to do a voiceover, and here's Michigan's brand. Take a look.
These days, current events unfold on a dozen channels. Headlines all seem to be shouting. And good news can be as scarce as a moment to relax. So let's turn down the noise this summer, unplug just a little bit, and head to a shelter from the storms of life. The historic port city of Alpena, located on the Sunrise Shore of Michigan. Only a few hours drive, but miles away from the weight of the world. Nestled between a vast forest and an endless clear blue bay, where the wonders of nature are as welcoming as the local hospitality. We could explore more than 200 shipwrecks in the largest freshwater sanctuary anywhere. Count the stairs to the top of a lighthouse, or the masts that jet into the harbor sky at moonrise. Let's take a trip to the friendly, picturesque city of Alpena, a haven from the world. That's Pure Michigan. Your trip begins at michigan.org.
Sound pretty good? You know, people started responding. My favorite ad I've heard so far is the one for Alpena one. It actually made me tear up. Remember I said evoke emotion, which was a wild experience. I think the link to rough times and shelters from the storms of life got me. And that's what they're about. It's what sailors have always searched for, and the weather took a turn for the worse. Isn't that what we're all looking for? And it goes on from there. This is on their homepage. And their pillars of the brand are going to be learning opportunities, the heritage, culture, environment, wellness, diving, those kinds of things. They're going to do fitness and silent sports. They even have lakes where they outlawed motorized boats on them before they were allowed. No snowmobiles in their town, in the downtown core. It's silent. It's a sanctuary. And then the environment, marine sanctuary, Island Bay, Thunder Bay, and that's where the sanctuary came from, the largest freshwater marine sanctuary on the planet. And they're going to start doing a series of sanctuary retreats. So they'll be year-round. So they found something that nobody else has. You know what's really cool? Sunrise Shore, Michigan. The state of Michigan is now saying, maybe we should just call this the Sanctuary Shore. Number 9, coming right up. Now you do create the look and feel of the brand. Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. You know, their brand promise, here it is. Sanctuary of the Great Lakes, marine, body, and soul. That's it. So they developed some concepts that will portray that feeling. And they did create a brand style guide. But their ads look like this. And look what it says. It says sanctuary. The dictionary, it says a sacred place, a place of refuge from stress, pressure, and anxiety. Number 3, a community known for its wellness, health, and fitness. Number 4, a rejuvenating experience. Number 5, Alpena, Michigan. This is my sanctuary. This is my sanctuary. This is my sanctuary. I did a whole series of these. Here, we dumped a pile of cell phones there and walked away. This is my sanctuary. They're starting to do posters. They're working on the photography now about posters that will be distributed all throughout town promoting the sanctuary. And you know what? You'll find your personal sanctuary here in Alpena. I got a call about 8 months after this from a lady. And she was on the phone. She goes, Roger, do you have a couple minutes? I said, sure. She goes, I'm from Alpena. And she goes, you know, you came up and did that whole thing. And I just want to let you know that I have 4 kids. And when they all graduated from school here, they all left. They saw this, and 3 of my 4 kids are now coming back. Thank you so much. And she started to cry. So did I. She goes, thank you so much for creating the opportunity for them to come back and want to be back. One of them's going to do scuba diving lessons and everything and do glass bottom boat tours. Another one is coming back and they're going to rent stand-up paddle boards and canoes and kayaks or create a whole outfitter for that. It works. Then you develop the action plan. You know, the branding, development, marketing, action plan that I already touched on. You know, once you do this, and by the way, strategic plans, strategies, goals, and objectives, no more than 3 pages. Where's a to-do list? If you want to get millennials involved, you can't hand them some big 300-page plan. You know what happens with most plans? We read the executive summary and then we set it on a shelf. No plan should be more than 40, 50, 60. I mean, ours might go up to 100 pages. That's it. No more than 3 pages. Give us a to-do list. And an action plan to-do list says, here's a description of the recommendation. Here's who's charged with implementing. By the way, this is not just the chamber. This will be cities, towns, county, Department of Transportation. If you have downtown associations, you name it. How much will it cost? Where will the money come from? When would it be done? And what's the rationale for doing it? That's an action plan. Cut to the chase. And that's what you're going to build here in Shawano. I mean, this is just a few pages of theirs, that just says, well, here you go. Here's recommendation number 27. There's recommendation number 28 with all those details. Then you know what you do? You make something happen. So you know what they did in Alpena? Can you imagine doing a logo and everything and then saying, hey, everybody, what do you think? Woo! Ever tried that? That didn't work very well. So in Alpena, we designed these pole banners. They didn't say a word. They just went and started hanging them up. People went, wow, I like the new pole banners. No discussion. There was no debate. Then all of a sudden, this is just as they actually have done this now. This was just a concept. One day, all of a sudden, it changed. Worked. They renamed their trail systems. So Aspen Loop, Sunrise Loop, Wildflower Loop, everything that would be silent. One night, the parks director went out. This was Duck Island Park. On Monday morning, it was all of a sudden Sanctuary Island Park. People said, hey, we like the way you named it. There was no debate or discussion. People just said, oh, I kind of like that. Their garden club, this is Greg that works for us, our creative director. They created these butterfly gardens. Master gardeners did that. I thought that was so cool. And even out here, the sanctuary trail that goes out on this little island. So you got to keep the energy high. Make it fun. Forget all the reasons why something may not work. You only need to find one good reason why it will, and you cannot fold to the cavers. You know what cavers are? Here you go. Citizens against virtually everything. You probably have a few. And number 13, you gotta tell the world. So all of a sudden, what they did is they started making hats and handing them out. I mean, it just worked. All of a sudden, Doug, their interim city manager said, well, heck, I'm going to do new business cards. And by the way, it didn't even cost them any money when they ran out. So over a couple of years, when they ran out, they just did them with new ones. There was no debate. There was no discussion. It was a piece of cake. Even their city vehicles are going to be looking like that and that. Is that cool or what? And then you revisit that plan every month. This is a plan that sits on your desk, not on a shelf. So, there it is. Sanctuary of the Great Lakes and the hub of Michigan's Sanctuary Coast. And this is to their bright future. So, we're going to take a break here in a second. But I wanted to show you one more thing. Just remember that whatever we come up with, it's a promise. It's an expectation. Are you going to meet that expectation? And here's a little 1-minute commercial from a leather company about meeting those. Are we going to get what we're expecting? Take a look at this.
Here we are. Together all alone. In the still of the night. Baby, all I know. My whole heart skips a beat. When you're next to me. In the still of the night. Here we are. With every sweet caress. And with every tender kiss.
So, let's take a break, and then in 15 minutes, we will show you all about our experience in Shawano country. See you in 15 minutes.